talk to James, who's at Prestwick Airport for us now, where a substantial crowd seems to have gathered, James.
Hi, Gillian. There is a substantial crowd. Indeed, I'm looking out over the apron at Prestwick Airport. Something like 200 people on the other side by the fence, gazing up into the slate grey sky of a South Ayrshire Friday evening. It is quite the local event, I can tell you. And sightseers are out, supporters are out. We have seen the odd Trump flag amongst that knot of people by the fence. Protesters, they will be present over the coming days, of course. But right now at Prestwick, there is a supportive audience. US Embassy staff travelled up from London. Of course, the whole touring party have travelled across the Atlantic in the days before this visit. And the hardware has been transported by some of the heavy lifting aircraft, military aircraft, that now are parked up at Prestwick Airport. East, the Cadillac that will transport Donald Trump on his trip around Scotland, that is on standby as part of a convoy of vehicles to transport the president. Convoys driven by the Secret Service in tandem with local Scottish police. That will transport him from here to his golf course at Turnberry. And of course, after a weekend's private trip playing golf, he will make the journey north towards Aberdeen. So he's on Air Force One. He has made the trip from Washington, D.C. He said some words on departure, had an impromptu news conference with the media present, spoke about the subject du jour, the subject of the day, as it has been over recent days, the business of Jeffrey Epstein, the controversy surrounding the Epstein affair. The key question he was asked today was about Ghislaine Maxwell. She was questioned yesterday by the Deputy Attorney General for information that she has. Would it shed any light on Trump's links with Jeffrey Epstein? His answer today was, I don't want to talk about that. So President Trump on board Air Force One, he travels typically in the presidential suite, that is, towards the front of the plane, press in the back. He's no fan of the aircraft, of course, and is still contemplating the offer of a Qatari jet, controversial offer of a Qatari jet to replace the aging Boeing aircraft. Boeing aircraft that the Americans are replacing, but they will not be ready soon enough for Donald Trump. He's grown impatient with the aging machine, currently now making its descent towards Prestwick Airport, one of Scotland's oldest airports, much celebrated over the years, of course, because of one extremely famous visitor, arguably more famous than Donald Trump himself, in the year 1960. I'm not going to ask you as a quiz question who that was, Gillian. I can tell you it was Elvis Presley. The one UK appearance that he ever made on his way back from his national service in Germany back towards the States. He made a stop at Prestwick, came off the aircraft and asked the waiting crowd, where am I? So that was then, this is now. And we can see Air Force One descending with its extremely famous VIP on board. Donald Trump, President of the United States, touching down, wheels down at Prestwick for Donald J. Trump. Making his way to Scotland, the President, of course, with Scottish roots. And that's a large part of why he is here. Opening a golf course in Aberdeen early next week, a golf course in honour of his mother, Mary MacLeod, who grew up, was born and raised in the Isle of Lewis. That's the affinity he feels with this place. That's why he has invested in Scotland over the years through his golf courses. And that's why he's come here for a holiday, a weekend of calm amidst the Washington storm.
James, it will be a little bit of a busman's holiday, though, won't it? Because he is endeavouring to have various key meetings, not least with Sir Keir Starmer, and on Sunday, we're told, Ursula von der Leyen.
That's right, yeah, very much a working holiday. Sir Keir Starmer, he will hook up with Donald Trump on Monday at Turnberry. They will spend time together. As I understand it, will travel together up to Aberdeen. So, you know, FaceTime important clearly for the UK Prime Minister as he seeks to cement his relationship, which is going well with Donald Trump. They seem to appreciate each other's company. So Keir Starmer clearly keen to progress a holiday bromance while Donald Trump is on this side of the Atlantic. They will talk trade. They have this framework agreement, which over time has been refined, and Keir Starmer will want to just to, you know, fine-tune some of the details in that agreement. They'll talk about tariffs, how they might be reduced further, tariffs specifically on steel, and of course Scotland's national drink, whisky, will feature. That is an issue uppermost in the minds of some of the trade representatives north of the border. They will talk as well about Russia and Ukraine. UK officials are encouraged, as they are in European capitals, encouraged by Donald Trump's change in tone and in tune in terms of support for Ukraine. He has lent towards the Ukrainian cause rather more in recent weeks than he had done previously. So Keir Starmer will want to pursue that and progress it in terms of Trump's policy on that. And as well as that, Gaza will clearly be at the heart of discussions, an immediate crisis to be addressed, and Keir Starmer will want to turn Donald Trump's attention to that with a degree of urgency. So very, much to talk about with Sir Keir Starmer. I might say, Gillian, the representative of Her Majesty's government here in Prestwick to meet Donald Trump off the plane is Ian Murray, Scottish Secretary. That's slightly awkward and perhaps reflective of the uneasy relationship that Trump has with Scotland, because Ian Murray, he signed a Commons motion in the past that labelled Donald Trump racist, misogynistic and xenophobic. So, that's an awkward circle to be squared in terms of the choreography here. One does wonder if Donald Trump remembers that, if that looms large in his mind at all. John Swinney is the other figure of controversy, Scotland's First Minister. No fan of Donald Trump in the past. In fact, he supported Kamala Harris at the last election. He wanted Donald Trump's forthcoming state visit to the UK cancelled after the shouting match with Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office. So again, that is awkward. John Swinney will meet Donald Trump on this trip. Trump actually described him in Washington today as a good man. So perhaps the insults and the discord of the past will be put behind them. We'll wait and see, but you can see Air Force One making its way along the taxiway. Ian Murray, Scottish Secretary, and the UK Ambassador for the United States will be meeting Donald Trump at the bottom of the steps when he eventually arrives. The way these things work, Gillian, in terms of the typical choreography, we'll have the press, they've been travelling in the back, they will come off and they will, I imagine, hang around underneath the wing. If Donald Trump has words to say coming off that aircraft, he will probably say it to the press who have travelled with him on the taxiway. So we'll wait to see if that happens. But the press will come off, and sometime after that, Donald Trump will come off. The convoy of vehicles, which I'm looking at them now on standby, a collection of Range Rovers, that beast that I spoke about, the Cadillac limousine, bulletproof, sealed to protect against chemical attack, windows which are 5 inches thick, that has been flown in, and that will be Donald Trump's taxi around Scotland. It's on standby just to the right as we look at the plane. Centre of the convoy which is, you know, the kind of convoy you see Donald Trump traveling around in, one that has an ambulance as part of it. It has a jammer, typically to jam mobile phone signals as it makes its way. So, you know, extremely tight security in terms of the transport of the president and in terms of the environment. Roads have been closed, fences have been erected around Turnberry, some 10 foot high. I personally have never seen security like it. I've covered Donald Trump visits to Scotland several times in the past, and I can tell you this is a place on lockdown. Connor will be able to speak about this more because he's been here over the past few days, but movement has been extremely difficult for locals. You know, members of staff trying to make their way to hotels and so on. It really is the tightest of security for a man, of course, who faces danger. A man who a year ago was the subject, the target of an assassination attempt. So to that extent, there is extreme sensitivity to the kind of dangers that a UK visit might present. A UK visit that is taking place, remember, amidst protests on the ground here.
James, we're going to leave you there because you are literally very close to the action, which means that we can't hear you very much anymore. But let's cross to Conor Gillies, who's at Turnberry for us, just to talk about... James mentioned you there, gave you a name check, because he said you'd know more about the lockdown, the security measures that have been taken to facilitate this visit.
Well, that's right, Gillian. This has become something of a circus here in Turnberry over the past few days, ramping up those security efforts as the man himself, President Donald Trump, winds his way through the Ayrshire Hills to this place, Turnberry, the golf resort that he owns, and the President himself, as he boarded Marine One, heading towards that aircraft you're seeing right now that has touched down in Scotland. He could not resist that boast that this is the best golf course in the world, in his view. He says this is the best resort that the world has to offer. And this has become, as I said, the very centre, the epicentre of the biggest security operation in Scotland in very many years. Suggestions of up to 5,000 officers as part of this deployment drafted in from across the UK due to the sheer scale of the events that we are about to witness in the next few days. And this town here has become something of a fortress. James there describing that large fence. We know Donald Trump likes a wall. Well, he's got it in the form of a massive fence erected along the perimeter of this golf course that we expect him to be enjoying over the next few days before the play turns to politics, when on Sunday we have Ursula von der Leyen coming for that summit with Donald Trump. And then it's the turn of the British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, landing here, according to Trump himself, earlier on confirming that. And the discussion around the trade deal that the US and the UK have signed. Donald Trump saying Keir Starmer is a good guy. They enjoy each other's company. They're going to enjoy, he says, a spot of lunch, a spot of dinner in this luxury hotel that you see behind me here. And he also revealed that they will be doing a little celebrating, a direct quote from Trump himself, raising a toast. Well, will that be the Scotch whisky that has been at the centre of these trade talks, that has been a point of contention during these negotiations between the UK and the US? Well, will they be parking those issues aside, or will they be thrashing out more details? We will wait and see. And then, of course, there is no official press conference arranged with the Prime Minister and the President here, but we are told the media will get a glimpse of the pair sitting down in this White House. Donald Trump swapping the White House for this one you see here, and we know Donald Trump cannot resist a moment in front of the cameras to talk live to the world on his thoughts of the day. So what news will that generate here at Turnberry? Well, we will have to wait and see. And then there was that discussion that James mentioned there around John Swinney, Scotland's First Minister. Clearly a player this weekend, not the most significant figure that Donald Trump clearly will be meeting, but Donald Trump has made this invitation, extended this invite to the SNP leader, the First Minister of Scotland, for those discussions. Another moment that Donald Trump said in that impromptu press event as he boarded Air Force One earlier on, he said, John Swinney was a good man. I wonder if that's the endorsement that John Swinney will be looking for this weekend from Donald Trump. But yes, the security effort, back to that. Here there is a sizable number of officers clearly over the course of today, extending throughout this very small town of several hundred residents who are not unfamiliar with Donald Trump's presence, his antics on the golf course as well. They will be hoping to catch a glimpse of the president. Many have chosen to flee the village for the weekend to get away from the madness as the international media, the president and the entourage that he brings rolls into town. I could say that, you know, for all the talk of the protests that we witnessed when the president was last here during his last moment in the White House, we certainly haven't seen much of that today here, but there is still time, I suppose. Talk of organised protests at cities across Scotland tomorrow. Will we be seeing a rerun of the protests on the beach?
Connor,
and let's go back now to
we have sight of the president right now. So President Trump there giving a little wave to the crowds that are gathered, some 200 people or so, the outskirts of the airport perimeter. We don't know as yet whether he'll have any words for the media before getting into the beast that's waiting. James Matthews is at Prestwick Airport for us and has sight of the president as he arrives there. James, the crowd's still there. Are you able to tell whether they're friends or foe?
I think they're largely friends, Gillian, as I look and as we watch the president speaking to the media that have been travelling with him. They will be asking him questions that pertain to this trip and pertain to his wider responsibilities, of course, bearing in mind he is the leader of the free world who carries the weight of the world wherever he goes. Much to discuss, much questions about Jeffrey Epstein, questions about Gaza, questions about Russia and Ukraine. He will want to talk about the reason that he has made this journey, this holiday trip to what he would consider something of a homeland, the country of his mother's birth, Anne MacLeod, who was born and raised in the Isle of Lewis.
OK, well, let's listen in live to what Donald Trump is saying.
What is missing in the UK deal that you have to work out?
Nothing. We I think it's more of a celebration than a workout. It's a great deal for both, and we're going to have a meeting on other things other than the deal. The deal is concluded.
So from Gaza, French President Emmanuel Macron just said that France will officially recognize the Palestinian state. What's your comment?
Well, that's what he does. I mean, you know, that's fine if he does that. That's up to him. It's not up to me. I'm with the United States. I'm not with France.
And the humanitarian situation in Gaza, we hear very dire warnings about.
I think it's terrible what happened with Hamas. They tapped everybody along, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what response Israel has to that. But it's getting to be that time.
There's a 50-50 chance of a deal. What is left to work out? What are the final sticking points?
I don't know. With the European Union, I think we have a good 50-50 chance. That's a lot.
What are the sticking points that you
Well, I don't want to tell you what the sticking points are, but the sticking points are having to do with maybe 20 different things. You don't want to listen to all of them. Yes.
What advice are you going to have for our Prime Minister about free speech? It's very important to people here.
Well, it is, but I like your Prime Minister. He's slightly more liberal than I am, as you've probably heard, but he's a good man. He got a trade deal done. And, you know, they've been working on this deal for 12 years. He got it done. It's a good deal. It's a good deal for the UK. So, no, I'll be seeing him tomorrow, I guess, tomorrow evening. And this is our wonderful ambassador, as you know. He's doing a good job. He's a very, very successful man. He'll be doing a good job.
The Royal and Ancient says you're going to have to improve infrastructure at Turnberry to bring the Open back. Is that something you're going to
I don't know. The best course anywhere in the world is Turnberry. The players all want to be at Turnberry. Everybody wants to be at Turnberry, so we'll see how that works out.
The infrastructure needs to be
I think the infrastructure and the course is good. In fact, the Royal and Ancient, I don't know if you're aware of this, they spent a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or probably into the millions of dollars, and they've laid all the wire for television and for electricity under the holes of Turnberry, so that when the Open gets there, they have it all done. They paid for that.
But we're talking about roads and railway stations.
I don't know. See, I don't know what you can do. All I can tell you is that it would be the best place anywhere in your country to have. There's no place like it. There's no place like Turnberry. It's the best, probably the best course in the world. And I would say Aberdeen is right up there also. Aberdeen's great. And while we're here, I'll be with my son, and he's going to cut a ribbon for the second course at Aberdeen, which is just about equal to the first. I mean, it's going to be a battle. You know, it's, as you know, they're very highly rated. And the second course is great. Sean Connery helped get me the permits. If it weren't for Sean Connery, we wouldn't have those great courses. No, I was never briefed. No.
Did you ask how?
What are you hoping Todd Blanche interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell? What are you hoping that they get out of that?
I really have really nothing to say about it. She is being talked to by a very smart man, by a very good man, Todd Blanche. And I don't know anything about the conversation. I haven't really been following it. A lot of people are asking me about pardons. Obviously, this is no time to be talking about pardons. But a lot of people have asked about pardon. This is just not a time to be talking about pardons. Todd will come back with whatever he's got. You're making a very big thing over something that's not a big thing. You should be talking about, if you're going to talk about that, talk about Clinton, talk about the former president of Harvard, talk about all of his friends, talk about the hedge fund guys that were with him all the time. Don't talk about Trump. What you should be talking about is the fact that we have the greatest 6 months in the history of a presidency, according to a lot of people. And we had an amazing 6 months. And this is sort of an example of it. Now we're meeting with the European Union, we're also meeting with, as you know, the head of UK, Prime Minister, and I look forward to that. But we're meeting in terms of a deal. We're meeting with the European Union, and that would be actually the biggest deal of them all if we make it.
Did you ask House Republican leaders to not vote on the resolution about releasing the files?
I was never involved in that. I'm focused on making deals. I'm not focused on conspiracy theories that you are. I mean, I watch you people. It's so sad. You ought to talk about the success of our country instead of this nonsense that you talk about over and over again.
You've done an amazing job on illegal migration in America.
I have.
People here are very worried about the situation. Record numbers.
Well, I say two things to Europe. Stop the windmills. You're ruining your countries. I really mean it. It's so sad. You fly over and you see these windmills all over the place, ruining your beautiful fields and valleys and killing your birds, and if they're stuck in the ocean, ruining your oceans. Stop the windmills. And I mean, there's a couple of things I could say, but on immigration, you better get your act together. Or you're not going to have Europe anymore. You got to get your act together. And we, you know, as you know, last month we had nobody entering our country, nobody. Shut it down. And we took out a lot of bad people that got there with Biden. Biden was a total stiff. And what he allowed to happen, but you're allowing it to happen to your countries. And you got to stop this horrible invasion that's happening to Europe, many countries in Europe. Some people, some leaders have not let it happen. And they're not getting the proper credit they should. I could name them to you right now, but I'm not going to embarrass the other ones. But stop. This immigration is killing Europe. And the other thing, stop the windmills, killing the beauty of your countries. Thank you very much, everybody.
Donald Trump, they're ending his impromptu news conference with the gathered journalists. When we joined the conference, he was saying that the deal is concluded, referring to the UK-US trade deal. He confirmed that he will meet Sir Keir Starmer tomorrow. He was asked about President Macron's pledge to recognise a state of Palestine by September. And he said that I'm with the United States, I'm not with France. Recognising or actually diminishing what President Macron has said. He said that he likes our PM. He's slightly more liberal than I am, he said, but he's a good man and he got a trade deal done. He spoke about Turnberry, saying it's the best golf course in the world, and his son will be opening a second course in Aberdeen, which Sean Connery, incidentally, helped him get the permits for. He didn't want to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell, said had nothing to say about that, but then he did go on to say that she's speaking to a very smart man, Todd Blanchard, and this is not the time to be speaking about a pardon, a question that has been raised to him several times about Ghislaine Maxwell seeking a pardon from him. James Matthews is at Prestwick as the beast drives off. James.
Yeah, hi, Gillian. It was interesting, I think, what he had to say. You know, he was repeating much of what he told the media as he left Washington, D.C., came here saying that on this European trade deal, there's a 50-50 chance. All eyes will be on that meeting with Ursula von der Leyen on Sunday at Turnberry. I thought it was interesting on the Maxwell stuff. You know, this business of Ghislaine Maxwell speaking to Todd Blanchard, his former private lawyer, now Deputy Attorney General. I've heard Donald Trump say a number of times, this is no time to be talking about a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. I've heard it so many times over the course of today. It does make me wonder, I don't know about anybody else, but, you know, is he trying to introduce this idea, embed it into the public consciousness, float the notion of a pardon so that should there be such an announcement, it's one that the public at large is prepared for. Maybe that's a cynical view, but that's a number of times he's addressed the idea of a pardon without committing himself either way. But he's on his way to Turnberry, the course that he describes as the best in the country. He was asked about it being used for the Open. That's a controversy. It certainly is for him. The Royal and Ancient, they don't want Turnberry used. They don't like the infrastructure. They don't like the kind of circus that it would bring to golf and to that particular golf course, the Trump circus and everything that involves. Well, perhaps that's a question to be addressed. It certainly was by the president. It's where he's headed now for a weekend of golf. He'll be there over the course of Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday heads up to Aberdeen, to the Many Estate, where he has that other golf course. He's opening a new one in honour of his mother, the Scottish mother that is behind his very strong connection with this place, this country. That's why he's here.
James, thanks very much for the moment as President Trump is on his way away from Prestwick Airport. Let's speak now to Professor Christopher Carman-Stevenson, Professor of Citizenship in Political and International Studies at the University of Glasgow. Good evening to you. First and foremost, this is, we're told, is a private visit, but there's certainly presidential manoeuvres afoot.
Yes, this visit really encapsulates sort of the Trump presidency in this second term. The combining of his business enterprises and his activities around promoting his business enterprises with the activities, the official activities of being president of the United States. Those things have begun to really combine in a way that we haven't seen before in any presidency. And so, here, this trip was originally floated as a trip to launch that new golf course and visit Turnberry. But then, of course, we now have these images of Air Force One. We have images of Marine One, the helicopter that flies the president around. We saw those images of him getting into the Beast, the limousine, and driving off. And now these trade meetings sort of also on the back of these visits. So it really combines these elements of the Trump presidency in a way that's just unimaginable before.
What's your view on this blurring of the lines between POTUS and private business?
Well, it's certainly something his political opponents on both sides of the aisle and the media have raised questions about whether or not this starts to dip its toe into potential elements, corruption sort of charges, and these sorts of things are being raised. Democrats are certainly raising these charges. On the other hand, many of his supporters say this is just who Trump is. We've always known that this is who Trump is. You're sort of getting, what's on the tin.
You mentioned using Marine One, Air Force One, the Beast. Are these all legitimate uses of presidential paraphernalia whilst carrying out private business? Is it legitimate?
Well, many presidents, to be fair, should say that many presidents, for instance, when they've traveled, they have played around a golf or something to that effect. Now, President Trump, according to reporting out of the Washington Post last weekend, President Trump has spent about 25% of the days in his second term playing golf. And he spent about a third of his time at his residences associated with his business enterprises. So it's that sort of blurring of the lines, which is really something that we haven't seen before and raises these questions about what are the legitimate uses of the sort of trappings of the office of the presidency, and what are the costs to the American taxpayers associated with Trump using them these ways.
And there is no precedent for this, is there?
There simply is not, no.
We know that he will be doing some presidential work, shall we say. He's meeting Sir Keir Starmer, and top of the agenda will be the trade deal. He's already hinted at that. So some international work will be done.
Yes, absolutely. He's just said in that press conference, we just heard it, he's saying that the deal is concluded. Most of the reporting on the deal is that as of now, it's still somewhat more in the framework sense. So we would expect discussions around steel and aluminum tariffs, digital taxes to be brought up in this. We can expect First Minister John Swinney to raise issues around, say, whiskey tariffs and trade between Scotland and the US. And then, of course, we have the ongoing talks with the EU, which apparently are now going to happen and have been slotted in for the weekend as well. So it is going to be a busy time. Those will be mostly high-level.
Professor Christopher Carman, thank you so much for speaking to us. The pressure for Britain to recognise a Palestinian state as more than 200 MPs sign an open letter. Israel, facing mounting criticism over Gaza starvation, says it'll again allow aid drops from the air. A 5-day doctor strike is underway in England, action the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has condemned as reckless. And the England coach on Sunday's Euros final against world champions Spain.
We're competitive and we want to win, and we know what it takes to win in tournaments, and yeah, that's what we managed to do, and that's what's got us to a third consecutive final.
Good evening. US President Donald Trump has just arrived in Scotland ahead of his 4-day visit. During that trip, Mr. Trump will visit both of his golf clubs and will hold talks with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer about the UK-US trade deal. On Sunday, he'll also meet the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. OK, well, let's have a listen to the latest as President Trump disembarked the plane.
I think it's terrible what happened with Hamas. They tapped everybody along, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what response Israel has to that. But it's getting to be that time.
Are you concerned about the image? There's a 50-50 chance of a deal. What is left to work out? What are the final sticking points?
I don't know. With the European Union, I think we have a good 50-50 chance. That's a lot.
What are the sticking points? That you
Well, I don't want to tell you what the sticking points are, but the sticking points are having to do with maybe 20 different things. You don't want to listen to all of them. Yes.
What advice are you going to have for our Prime Minister about free speech? It's very important to people here.
Well, it is, but I like your Prime Minister. He's slightly more liberal than I am, as you've probably heard, but he's a good man. He got a trade deal done. And, you know, they've been working on this deal for 12 years. He got it done. It's a good deal. It's a good deal for the UK. So, no, I'll be seeing him tomorrow, I guess, tomorrow evening. And this is our wonderful ambassador, as you know. He's doing a good job. He's a very, very successful man. He'll be doing a good job.
The Royal and Ancient says you're going to have to improve infrastructure at Turnberry to bring the Open back. Is that something you're going to
I don't know. The best course anywhere in the world is Turnberry. The players all want to be at Turnberry. Everybody wants to be at Turnberry, so we'll see how that works out.
The infrastructure needs to be.
I think the infrastructure in the course is good. In fact, the Royal and Ancient, I don't know if you're aware of this, they spent a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or probably into the millions of dollars, and they've laid all the wire for television and for electricity under the holes of Turnberry, so that when the Open gets there, they have it all done. They paid for that.
But we're talking about roads and railway stations.
I don't know. See, I don't know what you can do. All I can tell you is that it would be the best place anywhere in your country to have. There's no place like it. There's no place like Turnberry. It's the best, probably the best course in the world. And I would say Aberdeen is right up there also. Aberdeen's great. And while we're here, I'll be with my son, and he's going to cut a ribbon for the second course at Aberdeen, which is just about equal to the first. I mean, it's going to be a battle. It's, as you know, they're very highly rated. And the second course is great. Sean Connery helped get me the permits. If it weren't for Sean Connery, we wouldn't have those great courses. No, I was never briefed, no.
Did you ask how...
What are you hoping Todd Blanche interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell? What are you hoping that they get out of that?
I really have really nothing to say about it. She is being talked to by a very smart man, by a very good man, Todd Blanche. And I don't know anything about the conversation. I haven't really been following it. A lot of people are asking me about pardons. Obviously, this is no time to be talking about pardons. But a lot of people have asked about pardon. This is just not a time to be talking about pardons. Todd will come back with whatever he's got. You're making a very big thing over something that's not a big thing. You should be talking about, if you're going to talk about that, talk about Clinton, talk about the former president of Harvard, talk about all of his friends, talk about the hedge fund guys that were with him all the time. Don't talk about Trump. What you should be talking about is the fact that we have the greatest 6 months in the history of a presidency, according to a lot of people. And we had an amazing 6 months. And this is sort of an example of it. Now we're meeting with the European Union, we're also meeting with, as you know, the head of UK, Prime Minister, and I look forward to that. But we're meeting in terms of a deal. We're meeting with the European Union, and that would be actually the biggest deal of them all if we make it.
Let's go live now to our Scotland correspondent, Conor Gillis, who's at Turnberry golf course for us, a golf course that Donald Trump said was the best anywhere in the world, Conor.
Yeah, he did indeed. The boast yet again about Turnberry, saying that this is the best place on the planet here behind me. By my estimation, Donald Trump left Prestwick Airport around 15 minutes ago. Now, for you and I, that journey would take roughly half an hour. There's average speed cameras for getting into the local knowledge here. I wonder if Donald Trump and the motorcade coming this way will be getting a ticket tonight as they speed in this direction. We are expecting him here very shortly indeed, and what a spectacle he is arriving to. It has been something of a scene here in Turnberry over the past few days, the past few weeks, and it is culminating in this moment. The US president coming to town is not something that happens very often, and certainly not for this town, this village rather, of just a few hundred residents. As I mentioned, that impromptu press conference once again by the president as he stepped off Air Force One from the White House just a few short minutes ago at Prestwick Airport, discussing yet again the place of Turnberry. He says there's no place like this, and then entered a very niche discussion around the infrastructure on the golf course here, and it is that golf course that he will be playing golf over the next few days. This is being billed as a leisure trip, a relaxation moment for a president who is very much under pressure at the White House when it comes to the Jeffrey Epstein affair, and that was something he faced questions from reporters on the tarmac at Prestwick there, and he batted those off in true Trump style. We also had a history lesson on the travails of his Aberdeenshire resort, a few hundred miles north of here at Turnberry, somewhere he will visit too in the coming days as part of this trip, talking about Sean Connery helping to secure the licenses for that resort. And then the attention turned to the Prime Minister, something of a bromance between Donald Trump and Sir Keir Starmer. They will be meeting in this version of the White House here in Turnberry. Well, the President suggested tomorrow night. Earlier on, he suggested it was happening tonight. Some confusion there, and certainly Sky News understands that will not be happening tonight and possibly not tomorrow. But he is the President. He will make up his own mind. He will make up his own schedule, as we know. He discussed there the trade deal that the US and the UK have struck, discussions potentially about fine-tuning that. He talked about the celebration. He said it was a great deal for both sides. He also said they were going to have a meeting on other things. Well, what else is on the agenda? There is no formal public-facing event that the President will be doing, no formal press conference. However, we are expecting the cameras to be allowed in for a glimpse of that moment that the President meets the Prime Minister here in the next few days. And as we know, Trump cannot resist the live TV camera moments and free rolls in that moment. So no doubt there will be news generation within those particular moments. Asked too about free speech and specifically around the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. He says says, I like your Prime Minister. He's more liberal than I am. But again, heaping praise on a very close ally, as he would see it. Earlier on today as well, there was discussion around Scotland's First Minister, John Swinney. The pair of them are due to lock eyes in a moment, potentially in Aberdeen at the start of next week. Again, everything up in the air, but that is the talk of Scotland at the moment, and that potentially has the ability to generate some awkwardness, because let's remember, the Scottish First Minister, the SNP leader, John Swinney, has had a comment or two to say about Trump. Not a huge fan of him personally, but clearly the respect is there politically, given he is the US president. But just a few short months ago, given that showdown, that screaming match in the White House between Donald Trump and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, well, that descended clearly into chaos. And John Swinney said in the aftermath of that the state visit that's due to take place with His Majesty the King at Windsor Castle in September, John Swinney says that should be revoked. And the President may not be picking up on every word that the Scottish First Minister has to say, but we know that Donald Trump cares about how he is perceived. He cares about what people have to say about him personally. So will they park that? Well, Donald Trump certainly said that John Swinney was, quote, a good man today. Certainly the ringing endorsement, no doubt, in SNP headquarters, Scottish Government headquarters tonight, that they will have been hoping for. But you know, we are now 20 minutes on from that departure at Prestwick Airport, and the motorcade is coming this way. It is the scene, the showpiece event when any president comes to town, led of course by what's known as the Beast, that armoured vehicle with all the tools and all the tricks to fend off any would-be attackers. And certainly there has been a lot of talk over the past few days about protests in this part of the world. Famously, when Trump was last here in town, when he last occupied the White House, certainly, there was quite the number of protesters lining the beach at the edge of the course that Donald Trump owns. He was playing around, and clearly the megaphones were out, the shouting was on. Well, tonight it had been suggested there would be protesters turning out for this, the big arrival, and it certainly hasn't appeared as far as we can see here. I may as well tell you where we are. The last time the President was here, he came down this main road into the village of Turnberry, and he took a swift turn into this here. This is the delivery entrance, the staff entrance normally. And the only delivery tonight we're expecting clearly is the President himself in that motorcade. Will he be repeating the path from before? Will it be a similar situation? Well, clearly the White House is not revealing any details. The police certainly not revealing any details, as you would expect. But there's certainly a bank of international journalists here waiting for this big moment for the arrival of the President. You can see clearly a lot of police officers, and actually I think it's telling that the President must only be now a short distance away, because that police vehicle that you see parked over in the distance was blocking the entrance to this estate, to this fortress that has been created around Trump Turnberry here. Well, that has manoeuvred in the past few seconds behind me. It has shifted and shunted round the corner, and police seem to be creating a space there. What does that mean? Well, we're speculating. This is what we're doing here while we're waiting for the President. But certainly, if there is a repeat of last time, then that will be the moment, that will be the place that the President arrives here. So, Gillian, a few short minutes away now, I would expect. Talking of protesters, as I mentioned, not very many of those. A small group of people just off to the side there with some expletives on those posters, and a different story here. There's a chap just to my left wearing a Trump red hat. Make America Great Again. A thumbs up from you, sir.
Make Ailsa great again.
Make Ailsa great again.
And
There we are, a fan of Donald Trump. And just up at the bend where we're expecting the presidential motorcade to sweep round in a matter of minutes is a US flag, another supporter of Donald Trump. And he is clearly a man who divides opinion. We know that fine well. Anywhere in the world he goes, he is a Marmite figure, and Scotland clearly is no different when it comes to Donald Trump. We are expecting a number of demonstrations over the course of this weekend, organised demonstrations, I suppose, and they will be popping up in the large cities of Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, of course, which is close to the Many estate, that controversial Many estate that Trump boasted back in 2006 that he was hoping to invest £1 billion. Well, that certainly has not appeared in terms of that level of cash, that level of investment. But there is no denying that the President loves Scotland. Scotland has invested significantly in Scotland, like him or loathe him. That is a fact that is not in dispute here during this visit. And clearly when the circus moves away from here at Turnberry, the focus moves north to that Many estate that I was just discussing. We are expecting more moments up there. There will be, no doubt, a media event and potentially the President hitting the golf in front of the camera, the golf balls in front of the cameras up there, potentially at the start of next week. We know for a fact the White House has confirmed that the President is in Scotland until Tuesday, and clearly he will be packing full that schedule, trying to balance the play and politics over the next few days.
OK, Connor, we're going to be back to you as soon as you have sight of the President, so stay exactly where you are. In the meantime, let's speak to David Kennedy, the General Secretary of the Scottish Police Federation. Good evening to you. I mean, although we've been told that this is a private visit, is still the leader of the so-called free world. What are the challenges with policing this type of visit? Is it a security nightmare?
Yeah, well, it's a massive event for Scotland. It's a massive event for the police officers in Scotland, and they'll have to be making sure the President stays safe, the public are safe, and we have to make sure that all the police officers are kept safe as well during this time here.
And who exactly is responsible for his safety? Is it a collaboration between American Secret Service, intelligence and UK intelligence and the police force?
Well, yes, very much so. The Secret Service are obviously very much a part of that, but Police Scotland have to make sure that the hotel's safe, wherever he is safe, and make sure that any protesters that are kept away from him and kept at a safe distance also.
And how much preparation has gone into this day?
The preparation has been a lot, but it's been quick. The issues you've always got when the President's coming to your country is you don't know exactly when he's arriving. You don't actually know his full itinerary. And because of that, it's a very, very, very fluid situation. But the preparations have been big, but they have been quick and they have been fast.
So at this point, are you saying that officers wouldn't have the detail of his itinerary? Are they told at the last minute as well?
The itinerary, I can say, it continually changes. And President Trump is very much fluid in a lot of those itineraries. You've probably seen that when he came off of Air Force One and had that impromptu press conference. So because of that, you always have to be ready, and the security detail have to be very alive to the fact that the plans can change at the last minute.
So over this weekend, will all police leave have been cancelled? Will all hands be on deck?
Not all leave is cancelled. Officers who have got annual leave books should still have that. Only specialist officers, and some of them have been asked to come back, but the vast majority who have leave planned will be there, but there'll be no rest days that they'll be cancelled for officers. Officers will be full hands on the pump to make sure that the President's kept safe and the public are kept safe.
And can you give any idea of cost? What does all of this cost?
Well, it's millions of pounds, and that's one of the issues, obviously, for Police Scotland and the Scottish Government, because they'll have to fund it. And what it does show you is Scotland doesn't have enough police officers. There's been questions raised about what happens in the local communities in Scotland, and this will have a knock-on effect. We know we're sitting with at least 1,500 less officers than we should have, and we probably need another 3,000 to be up to where we would want to be proactive in policing in Scotland. Events like this are going to happen time and time again, and we have to be able to deal with them when they come along and not be an all-hands-on-the-pump situation. It should be very live, and we should be able to deal with it appropriately.
And what is the knock-on effect, as you describe, of an event such as this?
Well, the knock-on effect will be officers will try and catch up with leave that they couldn't take, rest days they couldn't take, hours that they won't get back. We know there's a knock-on effect for family time that they've lost as well. But that's unfortunate, the nature of policing, and sometimes what you have to do.
But will they be paid overtime, though?
Yes, the officers will get paid overtime. For not all officers get paid overtime because of their rank structure, but a vast majority of them will be paid overtime. So because of that, we know, I would estimate, well into the £10 million mark, I would think, for this was what it's going to cost Police Scotland.
And is their role made more difficult by the fact that we know there are going to be protests? There's been much made of that there will be lots of hostile people towards the President who will make their presence felt?
It is made more difficult. Police officers police without fear or favour. They are there to protect all involved, and that does make it more difficult because we know there'll be protests in Glasgow, protests in Edinburgh, and because of that, a lot of police resource will have to move and be fluid to go wherever these incidents are happening.
But won't the President's secret detail, will they not take the lead in actually protecting the person of the President? Yes,
they will certainly. Close protection of the President will be led by them, but they will liaise direct with Police Scotland. There's well over 2,500 firearms officers involved in this, so they are all there for one purpose. The conclusion of the visit, it's a 4-day visit. How will that be rounded off, and when will you then hand over the security detail back to the President's Secret Service? Well, the Secret Service wouldn't take over that detail until the Air Force One is officially up in the air. I would expect that would be the point where that would be handed back over. So Police Scotland will be extremely alive to the President being here. They'll have to be available. It's a 24/7 job for them, and they will make sure that the President's kept safe at all times. What's your impression of how the public view the resources and the money that's being focused on this event? What's your sense of how they're receiving it? I think the public's very mixed attitude. Obviously, some people like President Trump, some people don't, so that can have a knock-on effect in their views. I believe, though, the public, it'll be when they need the police, when the police are delayed, that's when the real issues will come for the public. And that's because now we're asking again Scottish Government to give us more police officers in Scotland, so that when events like this happen, there isn't that knock-on effect to the public in Scotland, because it's so important that they're protected at all times. Do you wish that President Trump wasn't visiting? No, I wouldn't say that. I wish that this shows the Scottish Government how many more police officers we need, because we have to welcome other nations to this country, and we just have to make sure that we are secure and we have enough police officers to deal with it when they do come. David Kennedy, General Secretary of the Scottish Police Federation, thank you very much for sharing your expertise and time with us. Thank you. Thank you. Well, this is the live shot of the road that will be carrying the convoy, including the Beast and President Trump, on his way to Turnberry, which is where our Scotland correspondent, Conor Gillis, is still standing by. Conor, do you have any more news as to when the President will finally arrive?
Gillian, who thought on a Friday night we would be so fixated on the A77, the rural road that winds through the Ayrshire coast? Well, that is exactly what us and very many people here in Turnberry, the village, are doing right now. We are expecting the President here any minute now. I can tell you it was just over 30 minutes ago, when the presidential motorcade departed the tarmac at Prestwick Airport, we had that impromptu press conference in true Trump style on the tarmac there before he jumped in the Beast, the limousine, and headed in this direction. And usually for you or I, it would take around 30 minutes for that journey. So we think that we should expect him any second now. And I think, you know, since we're speculating, I can hear the noise of a helicopter overhead, which may suggest that that is following the president as he inches closer to where we are just now. He should be here within the next few minutes. But certainly in terms of the policing efforts, I talked the last time the president arrived. He came down this road here, and if we just swing that direction, he headed down there where the police officers are standing through the delivery staff entrance. Given he is not only a member of staff here, he is the owner of the entire resort. There is some speculation. Word on the street here is that there is another sterile area that the police have created in the past few minutes at the bottom of this road, which runs along the front of Trump Turnberry, and that is where viewers who've been watching Sky News today will see the fence, the wall. Now, I'm being told that the motorcade has now arrived and is about to emerge round the corner here at Trump Turnberry. What a spectacle this is. The outriders from the police going straight past where we are standing here. That was quite some speed, as you would expect for the presidential team, for the presidential police entourage that we are expecting. He is going to be here for a number of days, primarily to play golf. Before attention turns to politics. We know he has a date with Ursula von der Leyen as part of those EU negotiations as they attempt to thrash out a deal there. And then it's the bromance between Donald Trump and the Prime Minister himself, swapping the White House for the one that we have here at Turnberry. And I'm told we are now getting eyes on the Beast, on Trump's motorcade itself, for this big moment that has been, if not weeks, but months in the planning. Donald Trump's son himself, Eric, last year intimated that this moment would arrive this summer, that his father, the President Donald Trump, would be coming for this visit. And here is that moment itself. This is a moment to boast about their businesses, to discuss golf, and have a number of days to relax away from the spotlight and the pressure that the White House is under when it comes to the Ghislaine Maxwell affair, the Jeffrey Epstein saga. A number of police officers are now asking members of the public to remain on the path at the side of this road. There are a number of Trump supporters, a small group, it has to be said, of Trump supporters for this moment. Clearly some others have turned out as well, making their voices known with expletives written on those posters. Clearly, this is a journey that the president has made before. He is not unfamiliar with these parts of Ayrshire. This part of Scotland, let's remember his mother was born here on the Isle of Lewis, something he likes to remind people of on a regular occasion. She moved to the States in her late teens, and Donald Trump himself has an affiliation, a personal affiliation with Scotland, and that will be in full view, on full display over the course of the next couple of days. I was told that we were due to see the presidential motorcade as we await this moment. You will have a better vantage point than I, Julian, but you might be able to guide us.
The last outrider there, I think that's the 7th to have gone past, and these are certainly at a much slower pace than those first couple that shot past you.
Yeah, absolutely. We had the hum of a police drone, a security services drone, around half an hour ago, surveying the scene for the president, and we also heard the soundtrack, the skirl of the
We've got sight of him now,
which
Connor.
usually is a true Scottish welcome. And as he sweeps round the corner, he will be greeted by the locals of Turnberry, who have come out to say hello to their president, to the local businessman that is Donald Trump. The police outriders continue. They are in huge numbers because this is a major security operation. 5,000 officers working across this weekend. And now the president is passing us. There is a suggestion he's in potentially the third beast, the third vehicle in that motorcade, and certainly I can confirm that is the case. Donald Trump has just passed the bank of cameras here and waved for us as he swept down the A77, this thoroughfare, this main road through the village. He's going to take a sharp right turn, and that will bring him to the grand surroundings of the Turnberry resort, looking out onto the waters, looking out onto the beach, looking out onto what he has described as the best golf resort in the world, the best place, in his words, echoing those comments, repeating those comments again within the past half an hour on the tarmac at Prestwick Airport. What will he be greeted with? Well, clearly they are pulling no punches when it comes to this. He will be sweeping up that grand entrance, that major road, winding road in front of Trump Turnberry, the hotel, that luxury hotel itself, and be greeted, no doubt, with the sound of the bagpipes and very many of his staff who have been telling Sky News over the past few days what a spectacle this is, the additional security that they clearly have to go through when it comes to Donald Trump arriving, and the heightened security alert that comes with his touchdown in this country, given that attempted assassination on his life last year during the US presidential campaign. And straight into the Scottish hospitality it will be. Will it be a glass of Diet Coke, as we know the president enjoys here, or will he opt for the Scottish drink Iron Brew? Well, all of this will be under scrutiny, will be the talk of this place. We know for sure, speaking to the staff inside there, that he has his own personal chef, as you would expect. He is the president, and clearly that is to fend off any potential poisoning issues. And clearly as well, when it comes to the cleaning staff, the housekeeping staff, they were telling us that they clearly go in and deal with the rooms, clean the rooms, do their duties, and then, as you would expect, the Secret Service. Now that may seem familiar for a presidential visit, but it is very unfamiliar. It is very strange territory for the staff here at Turnberry. And so Donald Trump has arrived in Scotland. He is now entering Trump Turnberry, and so it begins, Gillian.